Hare Krishna, everybody. So, Maharaj, we're just a few people short still.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna, Krishna Keshav Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Murti Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, and Mataji is done for now.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Keshav Prabhu ji.
Hare Krishna.
Is you feeling okay, Prabhu?
Yes, it's okay. Don't worry. This is just some regular treatment I have to have, so nothing to worry about.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes you will see it, don't let it disturb you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
So can I offer prayers now? And
Yes, please, Maharaj, please go ahead.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Kauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Desatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome everyone to our study of Nectar of Instruction for the Bhakti Sastri course, and this is lesson number 4, class number 4 anyway. So today we'll be looking at text number 4 in the Upadeshamrita. Right? You remember we covered the first 3 texts. The first text described the urges, the different urges which we have to deal with, the material body and mind, and their reactions. And when the urges are not controlled, then text 2 described the qualities which will develop, the problems which will appear and which will damage our devotional service. So then text 3 went on to describe 6 qualities which we need to cultivate in order to advance in devotional service. So today we're going to look at how to apply loving exchanges with the devotees. Right? So I'll go into the slideshow let's start with... Is everyone able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj, yes.
Good.
Yes.
Very happy devotees. Looks like a scene from Mayapur Parikrama. And that's the kind of mood we want to continue to develop in the association of devotees. Keep the devotees happy and have loving exchanges.
That's you, Maharaj, with the hat?
Looks like me, I don't know. Don't remember. It's certainly an old picture. Okay, so revision. I've already reviewed these things, right? We did speak about Niyamagraha. I hope it's all clear in your minds. Everything about how to apply the rules and regulations and how to adjust them. There you go. Okay, so I hope you're memorizing all these verses. Remember, the first 4 are memorization verses for this text. So they're often quoted. Oh. Hare Krishna. Okay, so 6 kinds of loving exchanges, right? Someone like to chant the verse for me?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I'll read. Dadati pritigrhnati guhyamakhyati pritchati bhunte bhojayate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam.
Yeah, go ahead. Read the
Could I
translation.
read translation, Maharaj?
Please.
Okay. Translation. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, prevailing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another.
All right, thank you. So,
Thank you, Maharaj.
very important principles, because the basis of our Krishna consciousness movement are these loving exchanges. I think we all depend very much on these kind of exchanges. They're very important to keep our faith strong in Krishna consciousness. We need to have that kind of loving exchange with the devotees. If that exchange is not there, then our service and our activities in the movement become empty or meaningless. So very important. And Prabhupada spent a lot of time, gave a lot of attention to these kinds of exchanges. So we're going to look at them in detail. I'm not going to discuss each one yet. We'll go through each one in the course of the class. From the purport of text 4, Srila Prabhupada has written, in the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised, one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Sangatyagat sato vrite. Right? Give up the association of the worldly people and follow in the footsteps of the devotees. So keep the company with the devotees. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. Sometimes we forget what's the purpose of our movement. We become so occupied in business and different managing and different things. Very important though. Here's a well-known verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nityasira Krishna Prem Sajja Kabunai Shravanadi Shudachite Kore Udai. Pure love for Krishna, Nitya Krishna Prem, right, is eternally established. Nityasira. So pure love for Krishna is eternally in the hearts of all living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing, Shravanadi Shudachite Kore Udai. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. So the message is, our Krishna consciousness movement is meant for giving love of Krishna to all living entities. We're meant to give everyone, all forms of life, an opportunity to hear, and if possible, they can also chant. Not every living entity is able to chant, but we try to at least let them hear, give them that opportunity to hear. So Prabhupada has written there, since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna. We try to encourage that. So Guyam Akyati Prichati, principle. Guyam Akyati Prichati. Guyam, confidential, right? Inquiring confidentially and revealing one's mind in confidence. This is special loving exchange. So Prabhupada explains about this. One should inquire about the Krishna consciousness movement. So when we inquire, it should be in relation to Krishna. It shouldn't just be mundane, it shouldn't be prajalpa, it must be in Krishna consciousness. So inquire about the Krishna consciousness movement, open the mind in order to understand the situation of this material world. Thus the Guyamakyati Prichati principle can be served. So it's important for us to inquire. We know also in Bhagavad Gita 4:34, famous verse, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master and inquire from him. So, pariprashnena, right? Pariprashna. Here it's prachati. So same thing, inquiring, putting questions before the authority, before the spiritual master, before a confidential devotee, confidential friend. We want to inquire about Krishna consciousness and understand more the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So it's very important. We used to regularly, we would always have what was called Istagosti. Istagosti was meeting of the devotees, where they would come together and discuss Krishna consciousness. It was a regular program when I joined the movement. And, every week we would have Istagosti, and we would all sit together and we would discuss Krishna consciousness. I don't see these kind of activities going on now. Everything is so, I don't know, it's just times are different, people are different. Of course, it's congregation more than ashram. When we're in the ashram, it's easier to facilitate these programs. But the same thing, people are not living in the ashram, but still, if they know Ishtagosti, it's a nice opportunity to come and associate together. And here is Sanatan Goswami, how he inquired from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now Sanatana Goswami put these questions to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was not in ignorance about these things. He knew very well, but he wanted to hear from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to give Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the opportunity to speak on Krishna topics. So sometimes when we hear a class, sometimes we may be reluctant to put a question. No, I don't have any question. But even though we may know the answer, still it's nice to put a question. If something is not being covered by the speaker, try to give the speaker an opportunity to speak something more to enlighten the audience. So Sanatana Goswami asked Lord Chaitanya, Kiami, who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I don't know this, how can I be benefited? So, this is the kind of inquiries we want to make. We want to try to understand more the nature of the world. Continuing, the life of the Krishna Consciousness Society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchange among the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. Right? We want to give everyone a chance to become devotee. There are many devotees. We're seeing more and more people come to Krishna consciousness. This year, maybe it's because of the pandemic, but there's so much interest, so many more people. We're constantly having to give the disciple course, new people coming in. They want to get more knowledge. They want to become initiated. So many more people coming to Krishna consciousness. There's a real need, and that means our responsibility becomes greater because we have to take care of them. And taking care of them means giving these different kinds of loving exchanges, encouraging them. Okay, Srila Prabhupada has written here, Bhagavad Gita 262, it is stated, Sangat sanjayate kama, one's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. Sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodo vijayate, right? That's the verse. Dayato vishayam pumsa, sangasteshu vijayate, sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodo. Anyway, Prabhupada relates it in this way. He says, one's desires, contemplating the objects of the senses, one becomes attached to them. From such attachment, lust develops. Sangat sanjayate kama, that our ambitions, our desires develop according to the sangha, the association we're having. So we want to bring people into the Krishna conscious association so they can develop a good desire. Talking about the dadati principle. Dadati meaning giving. Prabhupada explains, according to Vedic literature, it is enjoined that charity should be given to the brahmanas. Why? Because they are engaged in higher cultivation of spiritual knowledge. So Brahmana is allowed to, the Vedic culture anyway, a Brahmana has 6 different occupations which he's supposed to do. He may worship the deity, and he may teach others to worship the deity. He may study scriptures, and he may teach others the scriptures. He may also accept charity, and he may give charity. So it is said that in the Kali Yuga, the Brahmanas in the Kali Yuga are expert in only one of these 6 activities. They're expert in accepting charity. They never do anything else. So that is the criticism of the Brahmanas. And of course that's the failure of the Varnashram Dharma, because the Brahmanas didn't follow the proper Brahminical duties. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. So people became disgusted with the Brahmanas and they gave up the Varnashram system. But traditionally, a Brahmana was allowed to accept charity. According to the 4 divisions, Varna and Ashram, Kshatriya and Vaishyas are especially advised to perform great ceremonial sacrifices and to discharge their accumulated money very liberally. So this means Kshatriyas means great kings, powerful leaders, people who are in big positions. You could say maybe like modern day politicians. But they tend to have a lot of money these days. And the Vaishyas, Vaishya means somebody, not just a small businessman, but an industrialist, you know, somebody with a big business who's really wealthy. Then they're expected to distribute their wealth in a liberal manner. Kings like Maharaj Janak, he was very liberal in giving charity, give to everyone. And we know people among the Vaishyas, like in India, you have people like the Birlas, you know, they would build their temples, Lakshminarayan temple, Birla temple, here and there. They like to do that kind of thing. Many other similar people in India. So now Prabhupada is explaining his Dadati principle. We're quoting to you Srila Prabhupada's words. So he gives an example. Now suppose if there are 100 persons in a society, 25% students, means brahmacharis, 25% retired life, means vanaprastha, and 25% sannyas, renounced order. Now, out of 100 persons, 75% are engaged in the service of the Lord. Right? The brahmacharis, the vanaprasthas, the sannyasis, they're full-time engaged in the service of the Lord. The rest, 25% who are grihastha, they are meant for sacrificing 50% of their income to support the 75%. This is the whole program of Varnashram Dharma. That is a kind of spiritual communism. In communist society, everything belongs to the state. And in spiritual communism, everything belongs to who?
Krishna.
Yes, right. Everything belongs to Krishna. That's right. So, it should be used for Krishna's service. So, for spiritual advancement of a society, the whole social order is so arranged. 75% of the people, they're engaged in spiritual advancement of knowledge. and 25% of the population, those who are earning, those who are in family life, those who have got factory, business, and so many things, they should sacrifice 50% of their income for these 75% persons who are engaged in spiritual emancipation.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
We have a question from Sachinandana Vishwambara Prabhu.
Really?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, this verse, Dadati Pratiganati, it seems that it's talking about giving gifts and accepting gifts in charity. Simultaneously, it's being talked of the loving exchanges between the devotees. So just as you're explaining in charity in particular, it seems to be that going to the one ashram system of the society where grahasthas give it in charity. But then is it only for the supporting of one ashram system, or it is also between the two general grahasthas?
Between the what?
Sachinandan Prabhu, please just unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So is it just between for the support of one ashram system between grahasthas and all other ashramas, or this principle also applies between two friends? I mean, they may be two grahasthas, they may be two brahmacharis, they may be two sannyasis even, because it is written giving gifts in charity. So I just wanted to understand the significance of in charity word there. It may have been giving gifts or only.
Well, certainly, if somebody else is, among our devotee community is in difficulty, then we certainly want to help them and take care of them. But what's the reference is that those who are grihastas and who are wealthy, then they're meant to help to support the other ashrams. Now, yeah?
Is it like, the two grahasthas, for the loving exchange between the devotees, the two grahasthas should also exchange gifts sometimes, or maybe accept gifts from each other, or even two brahmacharis or even two sannyasis, they may accept or give gifts to each other.
Oh yes.
So
definitely. Just like I was saying, brahmanas are allowed to accept charity and they are also allowed to give charity. And they can give charity to sannyasis, they can give charity to brahmanas, they can give charity to non-brahmanas also.
Okay, so it's like particularly mentioned for brahmanas. I was considering it for two general devotees who maybe have come to Krishna consciousness and want to have relationship between each other.
Well, everyone who's in Krishna consciousness, we consider them like a brahmana.
Okay.
We're not talking about caste brahmanas, you see.
I understand.
So devotee brahmana, Vaishnava brahmana, they've come to Krishna consciousness, they may not be initiated, that's all right. But, if they're practicing Krishna consciousness, and they follow the principles and so on, then, we may like to encourage them and help them. We may show our appreciation for them, give them some charity, at least give them prasadam, offer everyone prasadam. That's a very common form of charity, isn't it? We distribute foodstuffs to everyone. We cannot say, "Oh, you're not a devotee. I'm not going to give you prasadam." We give to everyone.
Raj, can I just add something there?
Yeah.
So in our Indian traditions, times like Diwali or a wedding or a birth of a baby or something, we tend to visit people a lot and offer sweets, in gratitude for that relationship that we have. So I think it's a bit like that, isn't it? That we should be giving to all in a loving mood of exchange.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the mood of giving. Yeah, there must be, genuine love, not grudgingly that we give this.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So would that be called giving and accepting in charity? That's like a general, whenever I go to some grahastha's house, maybe for prasad and all, I take some gift for them. And while returning, they sometimes give a return gift sometimes. So
Yeah.
that won't be charity, that will be just
It's
loving
a
exchange.
loving exchange, right? Yeah, it's a loving exchange. Yeah, nice. Definitely, loving exchange is a higher form. It's not exactly charity. Well, we think, but we have that idea about charity. We think charity, we give something to the needy person, but charity, loving exchange could also be considered charity, and it's just a matter of how we use the word. What do you think, Krishna Keshava?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's a distinction. I think there's a distinction between giving charity and actually genuinely, from the heart, giving somebody something because we have that loving relationship with them. There's that sweetness in devotee relationships. We become happy to see them. We want to encourage them. They also are happy to see us. They want to encourage us. And there is that exchange. Like somebody comes to my house, I feel nice to offer them Mahaprasadam. I have some sweets here. And it feels good to offer them that Mahaprasadam. It's not charity, it's because, I feel a closeness towards the devotees. There's a special bond there between devotees, and I think we have to nurture that. And giving charity, I think, is a whole different thing. Giving charity, I think, is a duty, where there is an actual need. So there's a distinction between a loving exchange and offering something in terms of a need. So I mean that's how I think about it.
Okay.
I go to the temple every day to take darshan, but I wouldn't dream of just going into the temple, paying obeisances, offering a lamp, maybe taking some charamrita and walking away again. Because the temple needs to be maintained. The buildings need to be maintained, the flowers need to be bought, and all these things, they cost some money, and so we should contribute, but we should contribute willingly and from the heart. So it's charity given with love, I think, but there's also a distinction between loving exchanges between devotees, which is on a whole different platform.
Okay, yeah. Is that all right with the person who asked the question, Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj, yes, Maharaj.
Okay, we'll
So
go.
you've got two more hands up. Would you like to take these two questions, Maharaj, or do you want to wait till later?
Okay, since their hands are up, let's take them now.
Okay, so we have Murli Govinda Prabhu, and then we'll take a question from Hareshwari Madhavi Mataji. So Murli Govinda, please go ahead.
Krishna Maharaj, Dandat Pranams. Maharaj, sometimes when we go to these functions or visiting any relatives' houses and all, can we distribute this transcendental knowledge in the form of Prabhupada's books? I always contemplate on that, but my wife always prohibits me. If they don't study, why you have to give those books and all? Like you give some kind of gifts in kind of either cash or some kind. But I feel always that these kind of books, Prabhupada books, are eternally good for the people.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I would encourage you. You definitely do want to give Prabhupada's books at every opportunity. Try to give Prabhupada's books to people. Very nice. You never know. They may not appear to be interested, but you never know. It's amazing how many people got books and they kept it for a long time, they never read it, and then suddenly they pick it up and they read it, and their life changes. So it's very important to distribute these books at wherever you go, at every opportunity. It's very nice charity, the highest charity. Yes? And the other question?
Hareshwari Madhavi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I had a similar question. It's like it is said that we should give charity to suitable brahmanas also. But Prabhupada gives example to give Krishna consciousness in charity. So how do we understand that? Because not everybody, new people, they are not
They're not
eligible.
They're
in
not
the sense,
brahmanas,
for
right?
the charity, if you understand from giving to suitable.
Yes. Well, for the people who are new, not devotees, non-devotees, we give them. You're giving them some mercy. You're giving them a chance to do maybe agyata sukriti. You're giving them an opportunity to enter into Krishna consciousness. So of course, when we distribute foodstuffs, we don't just give to brahmanas, we give to everyone. And similarly, when we speak on spiritual knowledge, we give it to everyone who's willing to hear. But giving charity, that may be like distributing wealth or something, then, and even with prasadam, generally they say you should give to the brahmanas first feed the brahmanas, and then the other people. There's some kind of distinction like that in the caste society. They would do like that. In the Hindu society, they would give the brahmanas first. They would give them distinction. The senior people, and like that, feed them first, and then distributing wealth. We are very careful about distributing wealth. Generally, we would give it to somebody like a brahmana who would use the money for spiritual purposes. You don't want to give wealth to people who are engaged in sinful activities, because then they would use the money for their bad habits. So we're cautious about who we give money to. When you give charity, generally you give charity, you want to make sure that it's going to be used properly. Even may not be money, maybe you give blankets to somebody, but they may go and sell it and buy alcohol or buy cigarettes for themselves. You don't know what they're going to do because they have bad habits. So that's why we're a little cautious about who we give charity to. Just like here in Mayapur, Prabhupada said, he wanted food distribution here in Mayapur. He said everybody can come and eat, but he said they can't take the food away with them. He didn't want them to take the food away, and he said if they take the food home, they will mix it with fish. Because he knows Bengali people have that habit of eating fish a lot. So he didn't want them taking the prasadam home and mixing it with fish. So he said, let them come and eat here, but they shouldn't take it away with them. Okay, we'll go ahead. Let's see some more points here about. Okay, this is a quote from the Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 9, verse 27, purport. In the brahmachari life, the training is sufficiently imparted so that one may understand the world as property belongs to the Supreme Lord. No one therefore can claim to be the proprietor of anything in the world. Therefore, in the life of a householder, which is a sort of license for sex enjoyment, one must give in charity for the service of the Lord. Everyone's energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant actions of such energy must be given to the Lord in the shape of transcendental loving service to Him. So Prabhupada's just encouraging the householders that, it's their duty to give charity, because generally householders have opportunity for sense gratification. Unlike the brahmacharis, who are not supposed to have sense gratification, and the vanaprasthas and the sannyasis, they're supposed to be a little austere, which is not really there in householder life. Supposed to be, theoretically. We could argue about it. Another quote, first canto, 5th chapter, text number 30. In this fallen age of quarrel and dissension, if only the leading and wealthy persons of society agree to spend 50% of their income in the service of the Lord, as it is taught by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is absolute certainty of converting this hell of pandemonium to the transcendental abode of the Lord. And so Prabhupada points out who he expects to give charity. The leading and wealthy persons, right? In other words, people should have money. We don't want to, ordinary people who are struggling, who have a lot of trouble just to maintain everything. They, of course, they can't give 50%, but people are very wealthy, big positions, they have a lot of power, they can give more, they can give money. And we've seen, people like Ambarish Prabhu, who is from Henry Ford family, the grandson of Henry Ford, how he put $30 million into building this temple of the Vedic planetarium in Mayapur. And he's not unique, he's not the only person. There are other people in different places in Delhi. Some of Gopal Krishna Goswami's disciples have put a lot of money to build temples in different parts of Delhi and around there. And we have many wonderful devotees contributing to the Krishna consciousness movement. In Prabhupada's time, that English musician George Harrison purchased the Bhaktivedanta Manor for Prabhupada, for the movement. It's a property worth a lot of money now. And then different places, devotees have contributed. We have we've been fortunate. Krishna has sent nice people to help. Although Prabhupada said he went to America with no money, he was able to build a nice empire. Another quote, Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, chapter 17, verse 42. When everyone is taught to sacrifice 50% of his accumulated gold for the Lord's service, then certainly austerity, cleanliness, and mercy automatically ensue, and thus the last 3 legs of the personality of religion are automatically established. So again, Prabhupada says, accumulated gold. So not everybody has accumulated gold. But if you do, then, try to use it for Krishna. So, what is our biggest gift? What do you think? What can we offer to the public? What does the Krishna consciousness movement have to offer? Any hands up?
Yeah, we have Somya Mataji's hand went up first.
Somya Mataji?
We have to distribute Krishna Prema, love of God, to everyone, Maharaj.
So how are you going to give it?
I want to preach in my place about Krishna consciousness.
How are you going to preach?
Yeah.
How are you going to do it? You're just going to sit down and wait for people to come?
No, Maharaj, I may try book distribution or call my friends at my place to tell them about Krishna consciousness.
Oh, you're only going to preach to your friends. Is it? You're only going to preach to friends? You're not going to preach to other people? You're not going to make new friends?
Yes, Maharaj. With the help of my friends, I can make new friends and make them also Krishna conscious.
Okay. Well, let's, someone else like to contribute here?
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Maharaj. The biggest gift is distributed Srila Prabhupada book.
Okay. You're going to distribute Prabhupada's books. So that means people who don't read, they won't be able to become Krishna conscious.
And then we have Chandra Vamshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj and Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So we have started the preaching and visiting the village to village and distributing the books and also encouraging them in the villages about the cow seva and distributing the prasadam.
Okay. I don't know, people in the village, have they got money to buy books?
No, the village people is like really greedy these days, Maharaj, and only they ask like it's free.
Oh, you give the book free?
We are giving the books free, then encouraging them to come to our place. Initially, we are going to them and by explaining the importance of this, and we are giving them the permanent address so they can come back to us. So then we are starting the congregation.
All right, yes. But still, there's something more important. I think you've all missed it, the most important gift which we have.
What? I didn't get that.
There's one thing you're missing, the most important gift which we have. Nobody's mentioned it yet.
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Yeah?
I will tell about holy name, Prabhu, Maharaj, for everybody.
Yes, right. That's the point. The holy name. Yes. Right. The holy name of the Lord is a sublime example of giving charity, contributing. Give the holy name. Right? Sankirtan, the holy name for everyone. Educated or uneducated, literate or illiterate. Everyone, young and old, women and children, everyone can chant the holy name. So this is our charity, this is the highest charity, giving the holy name. Let everybody be awakened to Krishna consciousness by hearing the holy name. And so we may not have wealth, we may not have education, okay, no problem. But the chanting of the holy name, very powerful. All right? Okay, then. Prabhupada had gone to Kumbh Mela, 1977, I think it was, and he was not so happy because the devotees had not arranged much by way of prasadam distribution. So after he came back from the Kumbh Mela, he wrote this letter to the ISKCON temple presidents. I don't know if you've all seen this letter or not, but it was circulated to all temple presidents, and he told all the temples all over the world that everybody, everywhere, you have to have prasadam, and you have to give it to the people when they come to temple. Right? There must be sufficient stock. And of course it's not sold, but they just give them some prasadam. And Prabhupada mentioned what he wanted. He said, puri, sabji, pakora, even halava if possible. And he said they should make about 20 servings. And then if it's not finished at the end of the day, then give it to the devotees or go out and distribute it somewhere. Not that you keep it, put it in the fridge and warm it up tomorrow. That's not very first-class prasadam. Should be fresh. So, Prabhupada ordered like this, distribution of prasadam everywhere, every temple. And Prabhupada said, Krishna is not a poor man. Krishna is providing, maintaining everyone. Why should we be misers? This means losing faith in Krishna and thinking we are the doers. We are confident Krishna will supply. Let the whole world come. We can feed them. So please do this nicely. Begin at once. That was, you can see, time of the Kumbh Mela, 1977. So, Prabhupada was very fond of seeing prasadam distribution. I remember in England, when Prabhupada came there, we had a big program, it's 1971 also. And Prabhupada, we had arranged a program for Srila Prabhupada in a town hall in a suburb in London. And we had prepared prasadam, and Prabhupada said, bring me a plate of prasadam, I want to see what you're distributing. In fact, wherever Prabhupada would go, he would always check to see what was the prasadam, what kind of prasadam we're distributing to people. And sometimes he would praise it, and sometimes he would say, this is terrible. Who cooked this? He said, this is terrible food. Who's made this? So he was very particular. He really wanted that the devotees should do this very nicely, very important, because prasadam, it's a loving exchange. And if it's a loving exchange, you want to offer the best. If there's love, then we'll be very careful what we offer to people. So we should really be conscious that when we're cooking, you want to make the food, it should be tasty, it should be fresh, it shouldn't be cold or stale, like that. Again, and there's another example here we've given also in the Dati principle. Upendra was Prabhupada's servant, and he described when he got initiated, he gave Prabhupada a present. And he didn't give him money. He thought, you know, he wanted to give Prabhupada something else. He gave Prabhupada a baby blanket and a beach towel. So Prabhupada looked at these things, and then he held them up and he said, these things are useless. Prabhupada didn't think much of them. So Upendra said he was a bit disappointed. But anyway, that night, he came back to Prabhupada's room, and he saw Prabhupada had put the beach towel and the baby blanket on the floor for people to sit on. So he was appreciating that Srila Prabhupada found some use for the things which he had offered to him. So you have to be a little cautious about this Dadati principle, about giving. We want to give something which is useful. One devotee, he gave his spiritual master, a beer mug. And the spiritual master was not very pleased with it. Anyway, that's an unfortunate incident. But sometimes, you know, the gifts are not very appropriate. So we try to make the gift appropriate. And when things are offered, then it's the duty of the devotee to accept. One of Srila Prabhupada's senior devotees describes how they were with Prabhupada in India in the very early years, 1970 on. They were doing Sankirtan in the villages, and people would come out and give things. And they would often say, no, I don't want it. No, I don't need this. You know, they'd come and give cloth or something. And say, no, it's okay, I don't need it. But Prabhupada would get upset and say, no, you have to accept. When people offer you something, you have to accept it. So we accept it, even though we may not want it, we accept it, and later on you can always give it to somebody else. Right? That's the idea. Just like, I think it was Jagannath Das Babaji, he was given, you know, an expensive blanket by one man. And so the man thought, oh, see, yeah, he wants a blanket, he's still materialistic. But Jagannath Das Babaji took the blanket, he kept it with him, and then he gave it to a Brahmana couple. You know, and he gave it to a Brahmana couple who were very poor. He didn't take it for himself, he took it to give to someone else. So we should understand like that. Just like people often, as a devotee in the Krishna consciousness movement, people sometimes come and give donations. And so we can take the donation, and we don't keep it for ourselves. We don't have bank accounts usually, and we just give the money to the temple. right? They give the money to us, but I don't need any money. I live in the temple and I eat Krishna prasadam, so I don't really need much money. I can give the money to the temple for the service of the deity. So it's like that. Okay, the Dati principle. First canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 17, text 42. Everyone is taught to sacrifice 50% accumulated gold. Okay, I think we read that. Okay, expertise in pratigrinati principle. One thing is to give, another thing is to receive. I spoke about receiving. I said myself, you have to be a little careful, because as a sannyasi, you don't want to be keeping a lot of things, a lot of wealth or a lot of things. You can get attached. So, Prabhupada has written here in this purport, unless one is very advanced, he is unable to utilize everyone's contribution to further the Krishna consciousness movement. So how do you feel about this? Are you all satisfied that our Krishna consciousness movement is taking good care to utilize the contributions given to the movement and to the devotees? Any comments? On one hand, we have contributions given to the Krishna consciousness movement. On the other hand, you have also contributions given to individual members in the Krishna consciousness movement.
So you're asking, Maharaj, that are we understanding how to, or are we actually utilizing and looking after these resources properly? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have got somebody with the hand up there, Sachinandan Vamshi, Vishwambar Prabhu, sorry.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, we see lots of contributions being properly utilized, like ISKCON have Food for Life program, in which the donations given by the members of the society is used for distribution of prasad, and it has been appreciated a lot, especially in the time of pandemic, also particularly in Delhi. ISKCON had the world records in distribution of meals. So this is a very nice thing that it is being utilized, and sometimes we also see, due to mismanagement, the things even get wasted. I mean, the foodstuffs, they are cooked and they are not supplied properly, so they get wasted, or sometimes even because the donations are given to the individuals, and they may or they may not go in a proper proper channel to the ISKCON treasury, or it may not be accounted, so it may be misused. So this requires a bit of management and a bit awareness that any donation which is given, it should be taken. The donation slip should be taken. So I feel both things are there, and the simultaneously system is being managed to make it proper, make it safe.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Yes, generally we see that in the temples, that there should be, a receipt. There should be someone there to give a receipt, and you get the receipt, and that way there's some record kept of the donation. Mm-hmm.
So we have a sign at the manor when we take donations. There's signs everywhere. Please expect and ask for a receipt. Just to make sure that devotees are encouraged to understand that, there should be transparency in the way we do things.
Yes.
I think that's what's so important, because it creates a feeling of responsibility, doesn't it, within the centre?
Yeah, exactly. We're a registered society, both here in India and also in England. you're a registered society, a registered with the Charity Commission there in England. Here in India, I think also with the charity, I don't know, is it charitable foundation?
Yeah.
So when they write the receipt and then they make accounts, the accounts have to be audited every year. And the auditor comes and will check everything, look at the receipt books and look at the accounts and the bank books and check everything. And that way then, you know, if somebody has any doubts about the financial affairs of this, they can look at the accounts and they can see the audited accounts. That principle should be there, that anybody wants, they can come and they can look the accounts that they're audited. And every year the charity status has to be renewed. And if we cannot provide proper accounts, then they won't give you the tax exemption status.
Yeah.
So, very important. So the movement does try best to control these things. And you can see a lot of big projects going on, not only Food for Life, you know, but the Mayapur temple, which they're building, and so many farm projects and different programs. So there's no shortage of opportunity.
Your voice is echoing a lot. I'm just sorry to disturb. It's echoing a lot.
It's coming from me, is it? The echo is coming.
I don't know, but echo is coming a lot.
I can't hear an echo on my end. So I don't know where that's coming from. Is anybody is anybody got their mic on? I can't see anybody else with their mic on apart from me. But we should all switch off our mics while Maharaj is speaking, because that may help. I'll switch mine off as well. Perhaps try speaking now, Maharaj, and let's see what happens.
All right. So we were talking about this pratigrinati principle, the idea of receiving charity, that it's not very easy. It's a difficult thing to make sure the charity which is given is used properly. And so we say when we give donations to the temple, make sure you get a receipt. Very important. Let's see. So
Maharaj, you have a question from Murli Govinda Prabhu. Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. See, like, I feel His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada has given a lot of charity across the globe to so many people. So, as a Pratigrihnati principle, so many advanced devotees like this Maharajas, Sannyasis, then senior Vaishnavas, Brahmacharis, they are all distributing the transcendental wealth and holy name to all the people. So here, where is the question of receipts and all, Maharaj? Just like that, they have acknowledged whatever is given by that Dadati principle by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, and in return, all his disciples are giving that Pratigrihnati principle back to the world.
Okay, that's an interesting point, but in terms of practicality, there has to be also some funds. You know, you want people to come and give the holy name. We have to also be able to feed the people. We have to be able to accommodate the people. There has to be some place where you can give the holy name. So we need to maintain buildings and temples and properties. You want to go places, you want to travel there to different towns and villages all over the planet to give the holy name. You know, you can't walk. Lord Chaitanya walked around India, but he took 6 years to go around India. You know, we cannot go walking all the way everywhere. Not today. Many places, they won't let you walk. They don't have roads. Bhakti Marg Swami, he could walk. He walked across Canada. He walked down to Washington. He did some walking, but limited. So, you know, there has to be some resources, there has to be some funds. Prabhupada had great difficulty to go to America. He was fortunate that he got the sponsorship on the boat. So, that's, you know, that was Krishna's arrangement to send him to America by boat. But still, generally, and that was without funds, without money. And he came to America with no money. It's so difficult to move. And so we want to do things, we want to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. There has to be some funds, there has to be some organization also to control the funds. And it's important. Okay, so Prabhupada's mentioning here about non-devotees, people like Sahajas. He says they're sometimes known as Vaishnavas, but they're more like non-Vaishnavas or Avaishnavas. Sahajas, they take everything very cheap. So we should be careful about them. Their association changes the transcendental devotional service of Lord Krishna into sense gratification. And when sense gratification enters the mind of a devotee, he is contaminated. Materialistic people who aspire after sense gratification cannot properly think of Krishna. What am I supposed to do?